Haylou are back with another smartwatch release, and it's an update to their RS range, the RS5. They haven't strayed too far away from the design of the original, but they've souped up the resolution and the refresh rate and the size of the rectangular Apple Watch style display. And they brought over some features from other products in their range, like always on display and Bluetooth calling. Here we're going to be taking a closer look at the RS5, outline some of the differences between the previous iteration, the RS4 Plus, and dive into some of those features and functions. The RS5 is due for release on the 27th of February, and if you're one of the first 100 customers at their AliExpress store, then you'll get 50% off the product. The links are in the description. The unboxing experience, certainly for a budget smartwatch, seems like Haylou have stepped things up a notch, feeling a little bit more premium than some of their previous releases. But don't expect too much in the way of accessories. You're getting a charging cable and a green Velcro strap that gives the watch some versatility. If you find that your ideal fit on the rubber strap is between the holes, as it was for me, then that Velcro strap is going to give you better fit, so it's an absolute godsend in that respect. Both straps are well made and they feature a very handy quick release system. The design of the RS5 isn't anything too revolutionary, in that it looks very similar to other similarly sized and similarly shaped smartwatches on the market. However, Haylou have included some very tangible differences and improvements from the previous iterations in the RS range. The aircraft grade metallic bezel gives it a little bit more durability and resistance from scuffs and dings. It marries up well with the curved micro frame, giving you a 75% screen to body ratio. My wrists are quite skinny, they're around 6.5 inches. And as you can see here, it fills the wrist pretty much, but it doesn't look too big, unlike some of their previous releases, which could be seriously hefty and clunky on the wrist. This is a lot more svelte. It weighs only 51 grams and it's 10.5mm thick, so it sits much nicer on the wrist as a result. The RS5 feels very ergonomically balanced and proportionate. The short angled lugs mean that it's going to sit well on your wrist regardless of whether it's skinny or a little bit fatter. Haylou have added some pretty robust water and dust resistance here with an IP68 rating. It's going to easily withstand the rigours of the gym, but you can also shower with it or rinse it under the tap. One of the areas that Haylou has improved is the display. It's a 2.01 inch AMOLED display with a 60Hz refresh rate. Its brightness of 1000 nits makes it more vivid and more vibrant than any of their previous releases. Scrolling through the menus is quick and it's generally a lag-free experience. And you can select through 3 different themes, meaning that if you've had smartwatches previously that use a certain menu style, whether it's honeycomb or grid or list, then the chances are that you're going to be satisfied here, as you'll be able to match that up on the RS5. You also have the option of always on display with 2 dials, an analog and a digital with a date. Whilst Haylou don't give any figures regarding the brightness of the AOD, it's bright enough that you can see in the dark without lighting up a dim room. A note of caution when it comes to using that AOD though, it will have a heavy implication on your battery life. More to come on that in the battery section. Navigating the menu system is done either with the touchscreen or using the rocker crown on the right hand side, albeit with some limitations. Rotating it on the main screen scrolls through your different watch faces, of which there are quite a good selection and even more available through the Haylou Fun App, whereas pushing the crown down will exit the menu or app that you're currently in. On the main screen, swiping from the left brings up a bunch of shortcuts which can be edited. Swiping from the right brings up more shortcuts, including your daily activities, your sleep, your heart rate, blood oxygen level, etc. Again, these can be edited as well. Generally, the UI is pretty well done, although you're reminded occasionally that this is a budget Chinese smartwatch. The weather card, for example, has a bunch of different fonts and the screen looks cluttered. Toolbox gives you a bunch of different features like torch, stopwatch and calculator. Swiping up from the bottom brings up your notifications and they're squeezed in a little bit. I mean, text messages and emails are okay, but there's no way to reply to them. I believe you can use a quick message if you've paired this with Android, but as I was using this with an iOS device, I wasn't able to verify that. You do have some degree of customization over which notifications you want to see, as in from which apps, but that's about it in terms of the level of granularity of control that you're getting. The RS5 has continuous heart rate monitoring, and it's one of the features that does seem to work pretty well. There are some other slightly more gimmicky sensors included, such as stress, blood oxygen, and as always mine hasn't deviated from between 97 and 98%. There's respiratory rate monitoring as well, and you also have the ability to track your moods. Continuous heart rate monitoring is on by default, but if you want to do the same for blood oxygen and stress, you'll have to dive into the app, otherwise they're manual by default. Sleep monitoring is something else that Haylou have developed further since the RS4 Plus. You're now getting a more detailed breakdown of deep sleep, light sleep, awake and REM. And whilst the deep sleep and light sleep seem to match roughly my Pixel Watch, one thing they didn't get right was the time that you wake up. This was consistently incorrect and matched when I got out of bed instead. And within the app, you've got the ability to look at trends in your sleep patterns and go into more detail, look back at certain dates and see whether you're sleeping better or whether you're sleeping less. It gives you a sleep score, so you've got some metrics there that you can compare as well. It would have been nice if you could export this data into an overarching platform like Google Fit, which I use for pretty much everything else when it comes to health monitoring. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like there was a way to do this. As with any budget smartwatch, just be mindful that these aren't medical grade sensors. They're there for trend analysis really, rather than giving you precise information. This is something to bear in mind. And on the subject of stuff that the casual user will be interested in, let's take a look at steps. On the watch itself, most of them will show your step count on the watch face, or you can access it through daily activities. As with all the other fitness metrics, you can retrieve data using the Haylou Fun App. And once again, you can see here that whilst it is giving you the data that you want to see, it isn't especially cleanly represented. The Haylou Fun App could really do with a little bit of smartening up. They've also improved the number of sports modes from 100 to 150. You've got all the usual stuff you'd expect to see in there: outdoor running, indoor running, walking, cycling, free weights, elliptical. Whilst you're doing the activity, all it shows you is your heart rate and how many calories you've burnt, unless you're running or cycling, where it will also give you distance. And it stores these details on the watch, so you can go back into past activities and see what your heart rate was, how many calories you burnt, what your pace was, what your distance was. You also have the ability to see all of the exercises that you've done within the Haylou app. Again, this screen looks a little bit cluttered and things don't quite look in the right places. However, it's giving you a lot of information that will be useful when you're tracking your workouts. One feature that I couldn't use or test out is the women's health section for obvious reasons. All this is going to do is give you alerts based on your usual cycle. It doesn't use temperature sensors or anything like that like the Apple Watch does. Other areas that see this version improved over the RS4 Plus include the ability to do Bluetooth calling. As well as receiving calls, you can call out, and you can use either your contacts, call history, or the dial. Although I found for this to work accurately, your phone had to be really close to your watch. The volume on calls is pretty impressive though, as you'll hear in the following clip.
Hello, this is ReganCipher testing the call quality on the Haylou RS5 SmartWatch.
And on the subject of calls, Haylou added another useful feature in here: the ability to program in an emergency number and then activate ringing that number by pressing the crown 3 times. If you're in an emergency situation and you either don't have access to your phone or you don't want someone to notice that you're accessing your phone, then that triple tap of the crown could save you from getting into a spot of bother. The app that goes with the RS5, the Haylou Fun App, is something that you've seen intermittently throughout this review, and you'll have seen my verdict on it in my review of the Solar RT3. It has all the attributes you come to expect from a budget smartwatch app. It's vibrant, there's lots of information, but it's cluttered and it lacks a bit of polish. You've got around 150 watch faces that you can select from, although a lot of those are quite similar, and you've also got the option to edit your own. For you budding artists out there though, you don't really get too much control. You get a base style or dial, and then you can select the different colors, and that's kind of about it. You can upload your own image from your phone, and this is quite a nice touch, but from there you're quite limited over what you can do with it. You can change the color of the font of the digital dial, which is in the top corner, but you can't move that dial. So if you'd rather have it in the top left corner rather than the top right, your hands are tied. You can select 4 faces from the store and then use the rotating crowns we mentioned previously to select which one you want to use. The app has some other useful features like Find My Watch. You do have to be quite close in order for it to work, although when it does, it's pretty loud. And finally, battery life, massive improvement over their previous release, doubling the total amount of time from 10 days to 20 days, provided you're not using that always on display. And 20 days is exactly what I got in my real life tests. That was obviously without the AOD on. The brightness was at around 70%, and I was recording exercises on the watch every other day. With AOD on, using it for calls and for exercise at the same rate, but with continuous stress monitoring and blood oxygen, it looks like I'm going to get around 7 days, which is at the top end of Haylou's anticipated 3 to 9 days. Overall, I think it's a good upgrade from Haylou in terms of bringing the features in line with some of their other more recent releases, bringing that RS range up to date. It's a good looking smartwatch with a nice screen in particular that gives you a decent balance between smart and fitness features. Haylou supplied me with this review sample free of charge, but they haven't paid me for the review. All of these thoughts are my own. If you enjoyed the video or you found it useful, do give it a like. And remember, if you don't like the product, don't dislike the video necessarily. It harms the channel, stops the algorithm from suggesting my videos, so for those who are actually looking for a video on this product, they may not find out some of those things that they would ideally need to know before purchasing. In the next Haylou review, we'll be looking closely at their brand new over-ear release, the S30 Pro Edition, and comparing it to the S35 and some of their competition like the H3 from QCY. For instant notification of that and all the other tech reviews I've got coming up, make sure that you're subscribed and click on the bell button so that you hear about it first. For now, it's ReganCipher signing off.